This audiobook unveils the forbidden codex of metaphysical truths, a wisdom preserved through centuries. As you listen, you'll awaken to the hidden laws of the universe, discovering that every thought and feeling you hold shapes your reality. Step into the ancient knowledge your soul has always known. The Forbidden Codex of Metaphysical Truths. Introduction. For countless generations, this wisdom has moved in silence, whispered across time, carried in secret by those who understood its sacred potency. What rests in your hands is no mere text. It is a living transmission, a current of truth that has guided the awakened since the dawn of memory. As you step into these teachings, you will perceive that the universe moves according to laws as precise as the stars and as steadfast as the turning sun. These laws have always governed creation, yet they have remained hidden from those unready to perceive them. Know this: the universe is not distant nor indifferent. It is an infinite field of possibility, vibrating in perfect harmony with the subtle currents of your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. Every event, every encounter, every manifestation begins first within the inner sanctuary of your consciousness. The knowledge contained here has been called forbidden, not to bar your access, but to shield its purity, like a jewel kept safe until a worthy hand appears. As you read, you may feel a quiet recognition stir within your soul. This is not new learning. It is remembrance. Your essence already knows these truths. They are inscribed upon the very fabric of existence. Now, you stand at the threshold of awakening. You are a conscious creator, called to shape reality through the alignment of thought, feeling, and intention. The universe awaits your willing participation in its eternal radiant dance of creation. Before we get into the book, comment, "I am ready," to affirm your intention to the universe. Part 1. The Awakening of the Forgotten Initiate. Chapter 1. The Whisper Behind All Things. In a quaint seaside town, Eleanor Hayes noticed something peculiar about her daily life. On mornings when her heart felt light, the waves seemed to dance with unusual grace, and strangers would smile unprompted. Yet on days when worry clouded her thoughts, the simplest tasks became arduous. Her garden wilted despite careful tending, and even her favorite cafe seemed to lose its warmth. At first, Eleanor dismissed these patterns as mere coincidence, until one autumn morning changed everything. As she sat watching the sunrise, a profound peace washed over her, and in that moment, every leaf and bird appeared to pause in perfect harmony with her breath. It was then she realized that something greater was at work. The truth that Eleanor glimpsed that morning lies at the heart of existence itself. Every experience in your life, from the most mundane to the most extraordinary, emerges from an invisible foundation, the vibration of your inner state. Like a musician whose touch creates ripples through the strings of an instrument, your thoughts and feelings send waves through the fabric of reality. This is not metaphor, but the most fundamental law of existence. The world you see around you is not a fixed backdrop against which you move, but a responsive field that shapes itself to match your inner frequency. When you awaken in anxiety, the universe arranges itself to reflect that vibration. When you radiate peace, reality aligns accordingly. Think of yourself as an unseen broadcaster, continuously sending signals into the cosmos. Every thought you hold, every emotion you carry, ripples outward like waves on a pond, attracting circumstances that resonate with that same frequency. You have always been the quiet architect of your reality, though until now, you may have wielded this power unconsciously. Walter Green, a merchant in an ancient marketplace, discovered this truth through his own journey. For years, he muttered to himself about the scarcity of customers and the unfairness of trade. His shop gathered dust while others prospered. One night, after listening to a wise traveler's words, Walter began to speak differently to himself. Instead of lamenting empty shelves, he began thanking the universe for the abundance that would surely come. Within days, new customers appeared. Within weeks, his shop overflowed with activity. Nothing in his outer world had changed, except the silent conversation he held within. Walter's story mirrors your own relationship with the universe. Like him, you have been engaging in an ongoing dialogue with reality, though you may not have recognized its power. Every inner narrative you maintain becomes a blueprint that the universe faithfully follows. This brings us to a sacred practice known as the whisper of being. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and allow your breath to find its natural rhythm. Now, without trying to change anything, simply listen to the subtle current of your inner state. What vibration are you sending into the universe in this moment? Notice any thoughts that drift across your consciousness, any feelings that color your inner landscape. Don't judge or try to shift them. Simply observe with gentle awareness. As you sit in this practice, you begin to recognize the constant broadcast of your being. This awareness alone starts to transform the signal you send into the universe, aligning you with the frequencies of what you truly desire to manifest. Maintain this practice for 7 minutes. In this brief span of time, you will begin to sense the profound connection between your inner state and the outer world that shapes itself around you. Chapter 2. The veil the world pretends is not there. In a small mountain village, Samuel Price lived an ordinary life until the morning he glimpsed beyond the veil. Walking through the marketplace as he had done countless times before, he began to sense something extraordinary. A subtle vibration, underlying every interaction, every exchange, every glance between villagers. The fruits at the market stall seemed to pulse with an inner light, and the very air appeared to shimmer with invisible threads connecting all things. As you journey deeper into these mysteries, understand that Samuel's experience reveals a fundamental truth. The physical world you perceive is but the outermost layer of a vast cosmic tapestry. What appears solid and unchangeable is, in truth, a projection of consciousness, a reflection of the assumptions held within the depths of your being. Each thought you harbor, each belief you nurture, ripples through the fabric of existence like waves upon still water. Your assumptions about life do not merely color your perception. They shape the very substance of your reality. When you declare something impossible, you weave that limitation into the fabric of your experience. When you know something to be true, the universe rearranges itself to manifest that truth. In another time, in a bustling city, Clara Whitfield faced mounting debts and dwindling opportunities. Each morning, she would stare at her reflection, seeing only confirmation of life's harshness. But one day, while watching children play in the park, she witnessed their unshakable faith in the goodness of life. Something shifted within her. Rather than seeing her circumstances as proof of lack, she began to view them as temporary conditions, like weather passing through. Within weeks, unexpected opportunities emerged, not by chance, but by the natural law that governs all creation. Clara's transformation mirrors the power that lies dormant within you. Her story is not one of mere positive thinking, but of aligning with a deeper truth, that circumstances are not solid walls, but shifting shadows, responsive to the light of your consciousness. Now, as these ancient teachings begin to stir something within you, turn your attention to a situation that repeatedly manifests in your life. Perhaps it is a pattern in relationships, work, or daily encounters. Sit in quietude and observe this recurring theme without judgment. What assumption lies at its root? What belief have you held as truth that sustains this pattern? Do not force an answer. Let it emerge from the silence, for in this practice lies the key to transforming the very fabric of your reality. In recognizing the power of your assumptions, you take the first step toward conscious creation. The world you experience is not happening to you. It is responding to you, dancing to the silent music of your deepest beliefs. Chapter 3. The Forgotten Law Beneath All Other Laws. In the quiet halls of an ancient library, Augustus Miller discovered a weathered manuscript that would forever alter his understanding of existence. As he studied the mysterious text night after night, he began to perceive a hidden pattern behind every event in his life. What others dismissed as coincidence, Augustus recognized as the precise outworking of an immutable law, one that preceded all other spiritual principles. Through careful observation, Augustus noticed that his experiences weren't merely attracted to his thoughts. They were born from them. Each circumstance, whether fortunate or challenging, could be traced back to a single point of origin within his consciousness. This revelation transformed his approach to life, as he realized he wasn't simply drawing experiences toward himself, but actually generating them from within. The truth you are now uncovering surpasses the common understanding of the law of attraction. While many speak of thoughts attracting similar thoughts, the law of conscious origination reveals a deeper mystery, consciousness itself as the primordial source of all manifestation. This ancient principle teaches that your thoughts don't merely magnetize existing possibilities. They are the very substance from which possibilities emerge. Your consciousness is not simply a receiver of experience. It is the wellspring from which all experience flows. Every circumstance in your life began as a seed within your mind, taking form through the creative power of your awareness. This truth has been preserved in mystical traditions throughout the ages, whispered in temples and encoded in sacred texts. Consciousness precedes form, always. In a small coastal town, Mabel Carter lived in persistent struggle until she glimpsed this truth. Rather than trying to attract better circumstances, she began to examine the root of her thoughts. She discovered that her difficulties weren't random misfortunes, but expressions of deeply held beliefs. By shifting her consciousness at the point of origin, the very moment thoughts took shape, her entire world began to transform. Where once stood barriers, opportunities emerged. What had appeared as limitations dissolved into possibilities. Mabel had discovered that by altering the source point of thought, she could reshape the entire pattern of manifestation that followed. This transformation mirrors the power that lies dormant within you. Like Mabel, you possess the ability to reshape your reality, not by attempting to attract different circumstances, but by becoming conscious of the thought seeds from which all circumstances grow. Sacred practice, the thread of origin. Trace a recurring life pattern back to its earliest belief within you. Observe its origin without judgment, and allow that awareness to plant a new, empowering seed. Chapter 4. The Oath You Once Took and Forgot. In the shadows of an ancient temple, Nora Franklin traced her fingers across weathered stone inscriptions. For years she had served as the temple's guardian, though she never fully understood why she felt so inexplicably drawn to this sacred place. One night, as moonlight filtered through the temple's aged windows, the hieroglyphs beneath her touch began to shimmer with an otherworldly light. In that moment, memories from beyond time flooded her consciousness. She saw herself, ages past, standing before a council of light beings, making a solemn vow to safeguard the knowledge of humanity's true creative power until the appointed time of remembrance. This wasn't merely a promise, it was a sacred covenant etched into the very essence of her soul. The truth you now encounter mirrors Nora's awakening. Within the depths of your consciousness lies a similar covenant, an agreement your soul made before time began. You chose to temporarily forget your creative authority, to experience the grand adventure of remembrance. This forgetting was not a punishment, but a sacred play of consciousness, allowing you to rediscover your power anew. The law of conscious origination speaks to this deeper truth. Before thoughts attract, before vibrations manifest, there exists the primal act of conscious creation. You are not merely a receiver of circumstances, but the originator of all you experience. This knowing has been protected through ages, preserved in the silent chambers of your soul, waiting for the moment of your remembrance. Just as drops of water return to the ocean, your consciousness emanates from and returns to the infinite mind. Your thoughts are not merely magnetic forces. They are creative commands, spoken in the original language of the universe. When you truly grasp this principle, you move beyond attraction into the realm of pure creation. This hidden knowledge unfolds through the story of Silas Harding, a humble scribe who spent his days copying ancient texts. One morning, while transcribing a mysterious manuscript, Silas encountered words that awakened something dormant within him. The text spoke of a primordial oath taken by souls who chose to be pioneers in the great journey of remembrance. As Silas read these words, his hands began to tremble. Deep within, a memory stirred. He recalled standing in a circle of light, accepting the mantle of forgotten wisdom. With this remembrance came a profound shift in his consciousness. No longer did he see himself as subject to life's circumstances. Instead, he recognized his thoughts as the very seeds from which all experience grew. In the days that followed, Silas approached each moment with renewed awareness. When challenging situations arose, he no longer sought to change them through force of will or positive thinking alone. Instead, he traced each circumstance back to its point of origin in consciousness, recognizing himself as the author of his reality. Silas's journey of remembrance mirrors your own awakening. The stirring you feel as you read these words is not mere inspiration. It is the resonance of truth with truth, as the sleeping giant of your creative consciousness begins to stir. Ancient practice of remembrance. Place your hand over your heart, close your eyes, and speak the declaration reclaiming your creative identity for 7 days at sunrise or sunset. Chapter 5. The First Door. Perception creates pathways. A modest carpenter named Edwin Burke wandered the crowded marketplace, his weathered hands calloused from years of crafting fine furniture. Each day he passed the same ornate mansion on the hill, telling himself, "Such grandeur belongs to others, not to me." And so it was. His small workshop remained small, his dreams carefully contained within what he deemed possible. One morning, as dawn's light struck his workshop window differently, Edwin noticed something peculiar. The glass, warped with age, bent the light into patterns he had never seen before. Through this distorted lens, the familiar world revealed new dimensions. He began to see how the grain of wood held infinite possibilities, how each piece could become whatever he allowed himself to envision. You, like Edwin, have been selecting your reality through the lens of what you permit yourself to perceive. The universe operates not as a fixed stage, but as an infinite field of possibility, responding to the boundaries of your perception. What you allow yourself to see shapes what manifests before you. When you declare something impossible, you draw a line in the cosmic sand beyond which certain realities cannot approach. Your perception acts as a selection mechanism, filtering the infinite possibilities into the finite experiences you call life. This is not mere philosophy. It is the metaphysical mechanism behind all manifestation. Think of perception as a frequency tuner, much like a radio dial. You receive only the stations you tune into, while countless others play simultaneously on frequencies you've tuned out. Your beliefs about what's possible are the settings on this cosmic dial. The true power lies not in struggling to create what you want, but in expanding your perceptual field to include it. As you broaden what you're willing to perceive as possible, new realities naturally flow into your experience. Ruth Ellison understood this truth when she inherited her grandfather's failing bookstore. Where others perceived only mounting debts and declining readership, Ruth allowed herself to see something different. She began perceiving the store not as a relic of the past, but as a gathering place for minds and hearts. She didn't force this vision. She simply expanded her perception to include it. As Ruth allowed herself to imagine new possibilities, the store transformed. Reading nooks emerged in forgotten corners. Community events filled the calendar. Children discovered the magic of stories in ways their screens could never match. The store's revival wasn't the result of Ruth's effort alone. It was the natural outcome of her expanded perception. Ruth's journey mirrors the power that lies dormant within you. Your perception is not a passive window through which you observe life. It is an active force that selects which realities can manifest in your experience. The boundaries of your perception become the boundaries of your world. Ancient practice, the reopening of doors. Recall a desire you once dismissed. Notice the limits you placed around it. Gently question those boundaries, and spend a few minutes each day allowing your perception to expand without forcing any outcome. Chapter 6. The Second Door. Feeling summons form. In a quiet valley, Harlan Pierce tended his garden each morning, observing how the flowers responded differently to his presence. On days when his heart felt light, the blooms seemed to open wider, their colors more vibrant. When worry clouded his mind, the plants appeared to withdraw, their petals tightening against the morning sun. As seasons passed, Harlan began to notice this pattern extended beyond his garden. Joy brought unexpected gifts, chance meetings with old friends, opportunities arising from nowhere, solutions appearing at precisely the right moment. Fear and doubt summoned delays, complications, and obstacles that seemed to materialize from thin air. The universe responds not to your thoughts alone, but to the magnetic pulse of your feelings. Each emotion broadcasts a specific frequency into the infinite field of possibility, drawing to you experiences that match its essential nature. This is the hidden mechanism behind what many call luck or coincidence. There is no such thing as random chance, only the precise reflection of your emotional vibration. Your feelings are instructions to the universe, commands that shape the substance of reality before it manifests in physical form. When you maintain an elevated emotional state, peace, appreciation, enthusiasm, love, you activate a magnetic force that draws corresponding circumstances into your life. This is not magical thinking, but the operation of an exact, universal law. Just as a magnet does not strain or struggle to attract metal, your desired experiences come naturally when you achieve and sustain the correct emotional frequency. The key lies not in forcing outcomes, but in mastering your inner state, regardless of external conditions. In a bustling city far from Harlan's garden, Evelyn Brooks discovered this truth through a different path. Each morning before leaving her small apartment, she would close her eyes and deliberately choose an emotion, usually gratitude or peaceful expectation. She did this not because her circumstances warranted it, but because she understood that feeling came first, reality second. At first, nothing in her outer world changed, yet Evelyn persisted, knowing she was laying an energetic foundation. Gradually, her chosen emotions began drawing matching experiences, kind strangers, timely opportunities, moments of unexpected beauty. Her life transformed not through forcing change, but through maintaining an elevated inner state that magnetized new possibilities. Evelyn's mastery mirrors the power you hold in every moment. Your emotional state is not merely a reaction to life, it is a creative force that shapes what life will bring. This truth invites you to become conscious of your feelings, to select them with purpose rather than allowing them to be triggered by circumstance. Practice. The emotional directive. Choose one elevated emotion and consciously embody it throughout the day, letting the feeling lead your reality and draw matching experiences to you. Chapter 7. The Third Door. Belief binds energy into matter. A wealthy merchant named Leonard Briggs possessed every advantage: education, connections, resources. Yet his ventures repeatedly faltered while watching others succeed with far less. One evening, as he pored over his accounts, an old sage appeared at his door. "Your ledgers tell only half the story," the sage said. "The true wealth lies not in your coffers, but in your convictions." Leonard scoffed, but the sage continued. "For 3 days, carry this empty pouch as though it contained gold coins. Feel their weight, hear their jingle, know their presence." Though skeptical, Leonard followed these strange instructions. By the 3rd day, Opportunities began appearing. Deals previously closed reopened. New paths emerged. His fortunes shifted not through any outward change, but through an inner transformation of belief. Your beliefs are the invisible architecture that shapes the material world. Like a master sculptor's hands molding clay, your deepest convictions press form into the fabric of reality. These beliefs operate beneath conscious thought, directing the flow of universal energy into patterns that match their essence. When you declare something impossible, you build walls in the quantum field. When you know something to be true, you lay foundations in the infinite. This is why two people can take identical actions, yet experience vastly different outcomes. Their beliefs are broadcasting different instructions to the universe. Your beliefs are not merely thoughts you think, but living forces that restructure the very substance of possibility. They are the templates through which formless potential becomes tangible experience. The universe does not respond to what you want or what you do nearly as powerfully as it responds to what you believe to be true. In a distant city lived Agnes Ward, who had always believed herself destined for a life of limitation. Each morning she would pass a beautiful home on her way to work, never imagining she could live there herself. One day, she found an old journal entry from her childhood, filled with dreams she had long forgotten were possible. Something stirred within her. She began questioning the beliefs that had shaped her world so far. Each morning, she would stop and study that beautiful home, not as an impossible dream, but as a reflection of what she could create. She examined her beliefs about money, success, and worthiness, replacing each limiting thought with an expanded vision. Within months, unexpected opportunities arose. A promotion she had never considered possible manifested. New connections appeared. 1 year later, Agnes walked through the front door of that very home, now hers. Agnes's transformation mirrors the power that lies dormant within you. Her story reflects the truth that your beliefs are not fixed realities, but chosen perspectives that can be consciously reshaped. Just as she questioned and transformed her foundational beliefs, you hold the same ability to rewrite the underlying code of your experience. Practice. The belief transmutation. Find a quiet moment and bring to mind one limiting belief that has shaped your experience. Write it down. Now, craft its opposite, an empowering belief that aligns with your desires. For 7 days, begin each morning by consciously releasing the old belief and embracing the new one. Feel the shift not just in your thoughts, but in your entire being. Notice how reality begins to reorganize itself around your transformed conviction. Chapter 8. The Echo Principle. In a bustling marketplace, Franklin Moore sat at his merchant's stall, watching the ebb and flow of fortune around him. Day after day, he observed a peculiar pattern. Some traders consistently drew abundance while others remained trapped in scarcity. What mystified him most was that these outcomes seemed unrelated to their skills or efforts. One morning, as Franklin arranged his wares, understanding dawned like the rising sun. Each person's circumstance mirrored the persistent tone of their thoughts from weeks and months prior. Those who perpetually spoke of lack found themselves meeting with exactly that, while those who maintained an air of prosperity, even in modest beginnings, eventually saw their reality shift to match. The universe operates through an eternal law of resonance. Every thought you release into the cosmic field returns, not as a single event, but as a continuing wave of similar experiences. These are not random occurrences, but precise echoes of your sustained mental frequencies. Think of your consciousness as a bell tower. Each thought rings out across the expanse of time, creating ripples that return as physical circumstances. The tone you maintain today shapes the reality you'll walk through tomorrow. This is why those who understand this law take great care with their mental atmosphere. They know they're literally broadcasting their future into being. What appears as luck or coincidence is merely the completion of a cycle set in motion by previous thought patterns. The universe, in its infinite precision, ensures that like attracts like, that each frequency draws its matching experience. Your current situation, therefore, offers a perfect reflection of your dominant thoughts from the recent past. In a quiet village, Martha Reeves tended her small garden, troubled by years of modest harvests. One day she noticed how the morning bird's songs seemed to echo back from distant hills. This simple observation sparked a revelation. If nature so faithfully returned every sound, perhaps it also responded to the tone of her thoughts about her garden. Martha began visualizing abundance with every seed she planted. She spoke to her plants with unwavering confidence in their flourishing. Within one growing season, her garden transformed, producing yields that amazed her neighbors. The change hadn't come from different seeds or soil. It emerged from the new vibration she maintained in her thoughts. Martha's discovery mirrors a truth waiting in your own experience. Just as she learned to consciously shape the echoes returning to her garden, you hold the power to adjust the frequency of thoughts you send into tomorrow. The situations you encounter are not fixed, but fluid, responding to the subtle shifts in your mental atmosphere. Ancient practice of echo alignment. For 7 days, sit in silence morning and evening for 3 minutes and hold one clear, resonant thought aligned with your desired outcome, allowing its steady vibration to set the tone the universe will echo back to you. Chapter 9. The Mirror That Never Lies. In a quiet mountain village lived a merchant named Thomas Avery, who spent years puzzling over why fortune seemed to elude him despite his ceaseless efforts. Though he followed every method for success, studied every technique for prosperity, his circumstances remained stubbornly unchanged. One evening, as Thomas walked home beneath the stars, he encountered an elderly sage resting by the roadside. The sage observed Thomas's troubled expression and asked, "Why do you carry such weight in your heart?" Thomas shared his frustrations, listing all his attempted strategies for change. The sage simply smiled and held up a mirror. "Look deeply," he instructed. "What do you see?" At first, Thomas saw only his reflection, but as he gazed longer, he began to understand. His life wasn't reflecting his desires or his actions, but rather his deepest beliefs about himself. Within this eternal law lies a truth both simple and profound. The universe operates as a perfect mirror, reflecting not what you wish for, but who you believe yourself to be. Every circumstance, relationship, and outcome in your life forms an exact reflection of your self-concept. You may desire abundance while holding an inner image of someone who struggles. You might seek love while carrying a self-image of unworthiness. Your conscious wishes cannot override this deeper template. The universe responds to your truest beliefs about yourself. This mirror never lies. It shows you with perfect accuracy who you think you are. When you understand this principle, you realize that changing your circumstances requires changing your self-concept first. The outer world must shift to match any genuine inner transformation. In a distant coastal town lived Ida Lancaster, who had always seen herself as someone who barely got by. Her small shop provided just enough, and she accepted this as her lot in life. One day, while organizing old photographs, she discovered an image of herself as a child, eyes bright with possibility, standing proudly beside a castle she'd built in the sand. This photograph awakened something in Ida. She realized she had gradually accepted a diminished version of herself. That evening, she began reimagining who she truly was, not through mere positive thinking, but through a fundamental shift in her self-recognition. Day by day, Ida cultivated this expanded self-image. She moved through the world as someone who naturally attracted abundance, who offered unique value, who deserved prosperity. Within months, opportunities began appearing that matched this new self-concept. Her shop flourished, new ventures emerged, and her life transformed to reflect her transformed inner identity. Ida's experience reveals the power that lies within you. Just as she discovered her true nature beneath years of limited self-concept, you too can release the constraints of old self-images that no longer serve you. Ancient practice of self-image transformation. Sit in quiet, observe the self-image you wish to transform, recall your true nature beyond its limits, and for 40 days speak 3 I am statements that reflect this expanded self. Chapter 10. The glyph reveals itself. In a forgotten monastery tucked away in ancient mountains, Caleb Winslow discovered an unusual inscription on a weathered stone wall. At first glance, the markings seemed indecipherable, mere scratches worn by time. Yet, as he sat in meditation each dawn, something extraordinary began to unfold. When his mind grew still, a luminous symbol would emerge from the stone, a sacred geometry that pulsed with living light. But the moment his thoughts scattered, the symbol would vanish, leaving only ordinary rock. Through your journey of awakening, you have now reached a threshold where deeper truths reveal themselves. Like the symbol that appeared to Caleb, the universe contains patterns visible only to those who have cultivated inner sight. This glyph, this sacred geometric blueprint, represents the underlying structure of creation itself. It manifests not through physical eyes, but through the lens of expanded consciousness. The glyph appears differently to each who perceives it, yet its essence remains constant. A visual representation of the perfect order underlying apparent chaos. When you glimpse it, you recognize a truth your soul has always known, that reality is intricately organized according to divine principles. The glyph serves as both map and key, showing you how energy flows into form and how consciousness shapes existence. In the quiet hours before sunrise, Lydia Monroe would often sit in her garden, allowing her awareness to settle into stillness. One morning, as her mind grew perfectly clear, she saw it, a shimmering geometric pattern floating in the air before her. The glyph appeared whenever she aligned with her deepest truth, whenever she remembered her innate creative power. It became her compass, showing her when she was in harmony with universal law. Yet the glyph was more than mere symbol. For Lydia, it became a bridge between worlds, the seen and unseen, the physical and metaphysical. When she attuned to its presence, synchronicities multiplied in her life. Doors opened effortlessly. The very fabric of reality seemed to reshape itself around her aligned state of being. The experiences of Caleb and Lydia mirror the awakening now stirring within you. The glyph appears as a sign that you are ready to perceive the deeper mechanics of manifestation. Its emergence in your awareness indicates that you have developed the subtle perception necessary to work directly with universal forces. Sacred practice. The illumination of inner sight. Sit in quiet, breathe steadily, visualize a golden light expanding into your personal universal glyph, and allow its radiant form to illuminate your inner understanding of creation. Part 2. The Deep Art of Inner Alchemy. Chapter 11. The Architecture of Invisible Forces. Beatrice Langford noticed it first in her garden, a pattern in how the roses bloomed, not by chance, but following an unseen geometry. Soon she observed this same hidden structure everywhere, in how opportunities arrived, in the timing of meaningful encounters, in the way challenges resolved themselves. It was as though an invisible blueprint orchestrated the dance of her daily life. The more she attuned to this subtle architecture, the more she realized that nothing was random. Each experience emerged from an unseen matrix of order. The cosmos operates through precise metaphysical mechanics. What appears as circumstance springs from vibrations you emanate, assumptions you hold, and the identity you embody. This trinity of forces, vibration, assumption, and identity, forms the foundation of all manifestation. Your consciousness generates specific frequencies that ripple through the quantum field. These vibrations encounter the structure of your assumptions about what is possible, creating a framework that either allows or restricts their expression. Finally, your sense of identity acts as the master template, determining which patterns can take form in your experience. You are not merely moving through a pre-existing world, you are engaging with a responsive field that mirrors the blueprint of your inner state. Each thought releases energetic frequencies. Each belief creates channels through which those frequencies can flow. Your identity establishes the ultimate parameters of what can manifest. This is the hidden architecture behind every experience you encounter. Harold Whitmore discovered this truth during a period of apparent misfortune. After studying these principles, he began examining the invisible scaffolding supporting his difficulties. He realized his thoughts vibrated at the frequency of lack, his assumptions expected struggle, and his identity was anchored in limitation. With this understanding, Harold methodically redesigned his internal framework. He elevated his vibrational state through gratitude. He constructed new assumptions based on abundance. He expanded his identity to embrace mastery. Within months, his external reality transformed to match his revised inner blueprint. Opportunities that once seemed impossible began appearing regularly. Resources flowed more easily. Relationships improved naturally. Harold had not changed his actions as much as he had altered the underlying structure from which his experiences emerged. His journey mirrors the power you hold to reshape the architecture of your own life. Just as Harold recognized the connection between his inner framework and outer circumstances, you too can adjust the hidden matrix generating your reality. The forms and events you encounter are not fixed, They are manifestations of your internal blueprint. Sacred practice. The blueprint adjustment. Sit in silence. Perceive the invisible structure of a life area you wish to transform. Consciously design a new, empowering blueprint and hold it in awareness daily to imprint it upon the quantum field. Chapter 12. The Codex of Inner Atmospheres. In the city of 1,000 spires, Elias Porter lived a life that seemed governed by invisible winds. His days unfolded not according to external circumstances, but in perfect harmony with the emotional climate he carried within. When his heart was light with gratitude, strangers offered unexpected kindnesses. During periods when anxiety clouded his inner sky, complications arose like storm clouds on the horizon. Through careful observation, Elias noticed that his successes and setbacks aligned precisely with his internal atmosphere. A day begun in peaceful expectation would unfold smoothly, while moments of inner turbulence invited outer chaos. This pattern proved so consistent that he could predict the nature of his experiences simply by checking his emotional weather. What Elias discovered reflects an ancient truth. The universe responds not to your words or actions, but to the atmospheric pressure of your inner state. Like a barometer sensing changes in weather, reality reads and responds to your emotional climate. This silent conversation between inner and outer worlds operates through precise metaphysical mechanics. Your emotional atmosphere acts as an invisible filter, determining which possibilities can manifest in your experience. When you maintain an inner climate of abundance, opportunities naturally gravitate toward you. If your internal weather is heavy with doubt, even the most promising situations will struggle to take root. This process occurs because emotion generates specific frequencies that either attract or repel corresponding realities. Joy attracts joyful circumstances. Peace draws peaceful resolution. Whatever atmospheric condition you sustain becomes the standard that reality must match. The universe can only deliver experiences that resonate with your dominant emotional frequency. Understanding this principle reveals why identical circumstances affect different people in vastly different ways. It is not the event itself that determines the outcome, but the emotional atmosphere through which it passes. Like weather systems meeting different thermal conditions, the same situation will precipitate different results depending on the inner climate it encounters. In a small village among ancient hills, Josephine Clark discovered this truth through her own observation. For years, her life had been marked by constant upheaval, until she realized that her tumultuous inner weather was summoning matching external storms. With this understanding, she began deliberately cultivating a calm internal atmosphere. Each morning, Josephine would take time to establish her desired emotional climate. If anxiety attempted to cloud her inner sky, she would gently restore clarity. When stress threatened to create pressure systems, she would consciously maintain her peaceful atmosphere. Gradually, her outer world began to reflect this new internal stability. Opportunities that once seemed to pass her by now arrived with natural ease. Relationships that had been stormy grew more harmonious. Even challenges that arose were met with a newfound grace, passing through her life like gentle rain rather than destructive tempests. Josephine's transformation mirrors your own capacity to regulate the weather patterns of your life. You possess the same ability to choose and maintain your emotional climate, regardless of external conditions. This power lies not in controlling outer circumstances, but in sustaining your chosen inner atmosphere. Ancient practice of atmospheric alignment. Settle into stillness. Observe your current emotions without judgment. Choose the feeling you wish to hold and consistently return to it throughout the day to shape your inner climate. Chapter 13. The Law of Energetic Equivalence. In a bustling merchant town, Roland Bates worked as a craftsman, fashioning intricate pieces from silver and gold. Day after day he watched as certain customers entered his shop while others passed by without a glance. Over time he began to notice a peculiar pattern. The caliber of clients who sought his work seemed to mirror his own sense of worth that day. When he felt himself a master artisan, nobles and merchants of distinction would appear, praising his craftsmanship and commissioning elaborate works. Yet on days when doubt crept in and he questioned his skill, only those seeking simple repairs would cross his threshold. Through this observation, Roland uncovered a fundamental truth. His inner frequency acted as an invisible gatekeeper, allowing in only those experiences that matched his own vibration. This revelation unveils one of the most potent principles governing manifestation. Your vibrational frequency determines which realities can reach you. Like a radio that must be precisely tuned to receive a specific station, you must maintain the exact frequency of what you wish to attract. The universe operates through perfect resonance. Nothing can manifest in your experience unless you first match its vibration. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs create a specific energetic signature. This signature broadcasts continuously into the quantum field, attracting experiences of equal frequency while repelling those that don't match. When you understand this principle, you realize why certain desires remain elusive, not because they're impossible, but because you haven't yet matched their vibration. In the quiet hills beyond the city walls lived Helen Crawford, a humble herbalist who dreamed of studying with the renowned healers at the temple. For years she remained in her small cottage, believing such opportunities belonged to others of higher standing. Yet, something shifted when she began carrying herself as though she already possessed the wisdom of a temple healer. She started speaking with quiet authority about her craft. She began treating each plant with the reverence of sacred medicine. She carried herself with the dignity of one who knew her true worth. Within months, a traveling temple master discovered her small practice and, recognizing her innate gifts, offered her the very apprenticeship she had long desired. Helen's story mirrors a truth within your own life. Opportunity arrives not when you wish for it, but when you match its frequency through your way of being. Her transformation came not from changing her external circumstances, but from elevating her identity to match the reality she sought to create. This ancient principle of frequency matching remains active in every moment of your existence. Each experience that enters your life, whether wanted or unwanted, arrives because you have been broadcasting its corresponding vibration. To change your circumstances, you must first change your frequency. Sacred practice. The vibrational alignment. Choose a desire. Identify the frequency of the person who naturally embodies it, and for 7 days, align your thoughts, actions, and presence with that elevated identity until it becomes your natural state. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Identity Paradox. A silversmith named Roland Bates stood at his workbench, his hands moving with practiced precision over precious metals. As the seasons turned, he noticed an unchanging pattern in his workshop. The quality of patrons who entered matched perfectly with his inner state that day. When his spirit soared with confidence, nobles would appear seeking masterworks. In moments of doubt, only those seeking simple repairs crossed his threshold. You see, the universe operates through an exacting law of energetic equivalence. Every experience that manifests in your life must first find its matching vibration within you. This is not metaphor, but metaphysical mechanics, the precise science of manifestation. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs generate specific frequencies that broadcast into the quantum field. Like attracts like with unfailing accuracy. When you understand this principle, you begin to see why certain desires remain elusive, not because they're impossible, but because you haven't yet matched their vibration. Consider the frequency you maintain throughout your day. Notice how your current circumstances reflect the exact tone of your inner state. This is not coincidence, but cosmic law. Nothing can enter your experience unless you first become its energetic equal. In a small cottage beyond the city walls lived Helen Crawford, a gifted herbalist who dreamed of studying at the temple. For years she remained in her modest practice, believing such opportunities belonged to others. Then she made a subtle but powerful shift. She began carrying herself as though she already possessed the wisdom of a temple healer. She spoke with quiet authority about her craft. She treated each herb with sacred reverence. She moved through her days embodying the dignity of one who knew her true worth. Within months, a traveling temple master discovered her practice and, recognizing her elevated presence, offered her the apprenticeship she had long desired. Your own life operates by this same principle. Each experience arrives not by chance, but by resonance with your inner frequency. When you wish for greater prosperity but maintain a frequency of lack, the universe cannot deliver abundance. When you desire love but vibrate at the frequency of unworthiness, connection remains elusive. The power lies in recognizing that you need not change external circumstances to alter your reality. Instead, shift your inner frequency first through conscious identity elevation. The outer world must then reorganize itself to match your new vibration. Sacred practice, the frequency attunement. Choose one desire you wish to manifest. Rather than focusing on getting or achieving it, identify the frequency that desire represents. How would you think, feel, and move through your day if you were already its energetic equal? For the next 7 days, maintain that elevated frequency in all your actions. Let each moment be an opportunity to match the vibration of what you seek to create. Chapter 15. The Hidden Mechanics of Receiving. In a bustling marketplace, Clifford Hayes rushed from stall to stall, desperately seeking the rare blue orchid his beloved had mentioned in passing. The more frantically he searched, the more elusive the flower became. Exhausted and disappointed, he finally sat beneath an old tree to rest. As his breathing slowed and his mind cleared, he noticed a gentle fragrance. There, growing peacefully in the shade of the tree, was the very orchid he had been pursuing. This simple truth lies at the heart of all manifestation. What you chase often retreats, while what you allow flows naturally into your experience. The universe responds not to your actions, but to your state of being. When you strain and struggle toward a goal, you broadcast a frequency of lack that pushes it further away. Yet when you rest in the quiet, knowing that all you desire already exists, it finds its way to you with remarkable ease. Your role in creation is not to force outcomes, but to align with them. Think of yourself as a channel through which abundance flows, rather than a seeker who must hunt it down. The difference between chasing and allowing is the difference between closed fists and open hands. One grasps desperately, while the other receives gracefully. The tale of Faye Donovan further illuminates this principle. As a painter, she had always strained to achieve recognition, sending her work to countless galleries without success. One day, she stopped trying to prove herself and simply began painting for the joy of creation. Within months, collectors began discovering her work naturally, drawn by the authentic energy she now infused into each piece. Faye's transformation mirrors the shift available to you now. Each time you release the strain of forcing outcomes, you create space for natural fulfillment. Your desires manifest not through effort, but through alignment, not through doing, but through being. This ancient wisdom calls you to a profound yet simple practice. For 7 days, release striving toward a desire. Sit each morning in quiet receptivity and feel yourself as a vessel through which it naturally flows, shifting from tension to peaceful allowance. Chapter 16. The Silent Ritual of Alignment. In a sunlit garden, Gerald Morton tended his roses each morning, making the smallest adjustments to their growth. Where others yanked and pruned aggressively, he simply guided the stems with gentle touches. Over time, his garden flourished, while his neighbors withered despite their intense efforts. The wisdom hidden in Gerald's approach reveals itself to you now. The art of manifestation flows not from forceful action, but from subtle alignment maintained with patience. Just as Gerald's light touch transformed his garden, your gentlest shifts in consciousness shape the entire landscape of your life. The universe responds to the quality of your inner state, not the intensity of your striving. When you push against life with fierce determination, you create resistance that blocks the natural flow of abundance. But when you make small, consistent adjustments to your thoughts and feelings, reality reshapes itself around your new alignment. Think of water finding its path. It does not fight against obstacles, but flows around them with graceful persistence. Your consciousness works in the same way. Each small shift in perspective, each quiet moment of acceptance, each gentle release of resistance, creates a new channel through which abundance can flow. Consider Leona Fairfax, who had spent years forcing herself toward success through sheer willpower. Despite her determined efforts, prosperity remained elusive. One morning, she began a simple practice of sitting quietly for 5 minutes, allowing herself to feel wealthy rather than chase wealth. She didn't dramatically change her actions. She simply maintained this subtle inner adjustment day after day. Within months, opportunities began appearing in unexpected ways. A chance conversation led to a partnership. A forgotten investment matured at the perfect moment. A skill she had taken for granted suddenly became valuable to others. None of these changes came from pushing harder. They emerged naturally from her sustained inner alignment. Leona's experience mirrors the power available to you right now. You need not strain or struggle to create change. Instead, find those small points of alignment where you can ease into harmony with what you desire. Let go of the belief that manifestation requires enormous effort. The universe responds more readily to consistency than to intensity. The practice of subtle alignment. Each morning, sit in stillness for 3 minutes with your hand on your heart, breathe slowly, and allow yourself to harmonize with the abundance already present, without effort or striving. Chapter 17. The Shadow of the Unspoken Desire. In a quiet valley town, Victor Alden would wake each morning and speak his desires into the dawn. "I wish to share my music with the world," he would declare. Yet whenever an opportunity arose, an open mic night, a chance to perform, a connection with a producer, his hands would tremble and his throat would close. Time after time, he found reasons to step back from the very opportunities he claimed to seek. Through your awareness now flows this timeless truth. Within every desire lives its shadow, an opposing force born from fear, doubt, and unconscious resistance. This shadow desire acts as a counterweight, silently sabotaging what you claim to want. The law of manifestation operates with perfect precision, responding not just to your conscious wishes, but to the total vibration of your being. When shadow desires lurk unnamed within you, they create a conflicting frequency that cancels out your stated intentions. You may proclaim abundance while harboring a deep fear of responsibility. You might declare readiness for love while clinging to the safety of solitude. Just as light cannot penetrate a room until shadows are acknowledged, your desires cannot manifest until their opposing forces are brought into awareness. This is not a battle to be won, but a dialogue to be opened. Each shadow desire carries wisdom about what holds you back. Irene Calloway discovered this truth after years of pursuing her dream of writing. Though she spoke passionately about becoming an author, she never seemed to find time to write. One evening, sitting with her journal, she finally admitted the shadow lurking behind her desire, the fear that success would separate her from her family, just as her mother's career had done in her childhood. The moment Irene named this fear, its power began to dissolve. She saw how this shadow desire had protected her, but was no longer needed. She could write and maintain connection. She could succeed differently than her mother had. Within months of this realization, her first book flowed from her pen with natural ease. Your own shadow desires wait to be discovered, not as enemies to be vanquished, but as parts of yourself seeking integration. Each time you bring one into the light, you release its grip on your manifesting power. Ancient practice of shadow integration. At twilight, identify an unfulfilled desire. Note your fear if it manifested. Hold this shadow with compassion and declare your readiness to receive it in harmony. Chapter 18. The Magnetic Nature of Surrender. There once lived a merchant named Norman Adler who spent his days meticulously planning every detail of his business ventures. His ledgers were precise, his strategies calculated, and his grip on control absolute. Yet despite his careful orchestration, the grandest opportunities seemed to slip through his fingers like water. One autumn morning, Norman discovered his prized ledger had vanished. After searching frantically, he collapsed in exhaustion beneath an ancient oak tree. In that moment of forced surrender, something extraordinary occurred. 3 strangers approached, each bearing news of unexpected fortune. One offered partnership in a thriving enterprise, another brought word of a valuable trade route, and the third revealed a hidden market Norman had long sought. As your journey deepens, understand this eternal wisdom. The tighter you grasp at manifestation, the more it resists your touch. The universe operates through a paradox. What you most desperately pursue will elude you until you release your grip upon it. This is not mere passivity, but rather an active alignment with the natural flow of creation. When you surrender control, you do not abandon your desires. You allow them to manifest through channels far greater than your limited planning could devise. This surrender is a form of trust in the infinite intelligence that orchestrates all things. It is the recognition that your conscious mind, with its careful strategies and rigid expectations, often blocks the very abundance it seeks to create. Consider how a flower blooms, not through force or strain, but through a natural unfolding in harmony with sun and soil. Your manifestations flourish in the same way, through alignment rather than effort. This is the forgotten art of magnetic surrender, the ability to hold your desires lightly while maintaining unwavering faith in their fulfillment. In a distant mountain village lived Pearl Whitaker, a weaver who had spent years striving to master an ancient pattern said to bring prosperity to its creator. The harder she worked, the more the pattern eluded her. One evening, exhausted from trying, she simply sat at her loom and allowed her hands to move without purpose or plan. In that moment of pure surrender, the sacred pattern emerged effortlessly beneath her fingers, more beautiful than any she had attempted to force. Pearl's experience mirrors a profound truth within you. The moment you cease struggling against the current of life, you discover you are already being carried toward your highest good. Your role is not to direct the river, but to align with its flow. To embrace this wisdom in your own life, practice this ancient ritual of surrender. Each evening, sit quietly and identify one thing you have been trying to control. Hold it in your awareness, then visualize yourself opening your hands and releasing it to the infinite wisdom of the universe. Feel the relief as the weight of forced manifestation dissolves into trust. This is not giving up. It is giving over to a power far greater than your limited strategies of control. Let this practice remind you that true power lies not in forcing outcomes, but in aligning with the natural order that already knows the perfect path to your desires' fulfillment. Chapter 19. The Laws That Bend When You Do. In the ancient trading city of Kashmir, there lived a merchant named Howard Sinclair, who had built walls of control around every aspect of his existence. Each morning, he would rise before dawn to review his lengthy list of tasks, gripping tightly to the illusion that through sheer force of will, he could bend circumstances to his desires. One sweltering afternoon, as Howard sat in his courtyard watching the leaves dance in the wind, a peculiar thought crossed his mind. What if I simply knew all would unfold perfectly? In that instant, he felt his iron grip loosen. Rather than fighting against the current of life, he allowed himself to float upon it. Within days, opportunities he had long struggled to create simply appeared before him, as naturally as breath. The universe responds not to your effort, but to your certainty. When you release the need to control every detail, you activate a power far greater than forced action. This surrender is not passive resignation, but rather an alignment with the invisible forces that orchestrate all of creation. Every struggle you have experienced arose from resistance to what is. The moment you withdraw your opposition, the very thing you fought against transforms or dissolves. This is the paradox of surrender. In releasing control, you gain true power. Consider how water shapes stone not through force but through consistent, gentle flow. Similarly, your relationship with the universe requires not effort, but allowance. When you trust in the perfect unfolding of all things, you enter a state of magnetic receptivity. The ancient wisdom keepers understood that manifestation occurs not through doing, but through being. Your natural state is one of effortless creation. It is only your learned resistance that blocks this flow. In a quiet village among rolling hills, there lived a woman named Della Montgomery, who had accepted countless limitations as unchangeable truths. "This is simply how things are," she would say, reinforcing the bars of her self-made cage. Yet one morning, as she watched a bird soar past her window, she realized she had never tested these limitations. She had merely agreed with them. That day, Della began systematically withdrawing her belief from every constraint she had accepted. One by one, she examined each limitation and simply ceased to give it power. Like ice melting in sunlight, these restrictions dissolved not through struggle, but through the simple withdrawal of her agreement. The walls you perceive around your life stand only through your continued belief in them. They are sustained by your acceptance, fed by your attention, and maintained by your agreement. The moment you withdraw your belief, they begin to dissolve. This mirrors the fundamental power you hold, the authority to shape your reality through conscious choice rather than habitual acceptance. Just as Della discovered her freedom lay not in fighting limitations, but in withdrawing belief from them. You too can dissolve any constraint by simply removing your agreement with it. Ancient practice of limitation. Release. Close your eyes. Focus on a self-limitation. Imagine withdrawing your belief from it, and aloud declare, "I withdraw my agreement from this limitation," opening space for new possibilities. Chapter 20. The point where time begins to obey you. High in the mountains, in a village untouched by time, lived Lawrence Bishop, a clockmaker known for his uncanny ability to repair even the most intricate timepieces. Yet Lawrence harbored a secret. He had discovered that time itself responded to the certainty in his heart. One morning, faced with an impossible deadline to repair the town's ancient tower clock, Lawrence settled into a state of absolute knowing. Rather than racing against time, he allowed time to flow through him. As he worked, minutes stretched like hours, hours compressed into moments. The repairs that should have taken days unfolded in mere hours. When he emerged from his workshop, the villagers marveled not only at the restored clock, but at how he had accomplished so much in so little time. The universe operates not by the mechanical ticking of seconds, but by the rhythm of consciousness. Time is not a rigid framework, but a fluid medium that responds to your inner state. When you release doubt and embrace unwavering certainty, the illusion of linear time dissolves, revealing its malleable nature. Your experiences arrive not according to external schedules, but through the gateway of your conviction. Each moment holds infinite potential, waiting to be shaped by your consciousness. The deeper your alignment with this truth, the more you'll witness reality reorganizing itself to match your inner knowing. In the heart of a bustling city, Violet Mercer discovered this truth through her own remarkable experience. For years, she had believed her dreams would take decades to manifest. Then one evening, while watching the sunset, she stepped into complete acceptance of her desire as already fulfilled. In that moment of pure certainty, time seemed to bend around her consciousness. Opportunities that should have taken years materialized within weeks. Connections that would normally require months to cultivate appeared spontaneously. Violet had not changed her actions. She had shifted her relationship with time itself through absolute knowing. Her story mirrors the power waiting within you. The same laws that bent for Violet respond to your consciousness. Time is not your master, but your servant, waiting to arrange itself according to your deepest convictions. Sacred practice. Sit in stillness, focus on a desire, release all thoughts of timing or method, and fully embody the feeling of already having it, holding this state daily to align with its manifestation. Part 3. Mastery of the Forbidden Codex. Chapter 21. The Sovereign State of Being. In a bustling metropolis, Alistair Coleman walked through life carrying an unshakable inner calm. While others rushed frantically through their days, he moved with quiet assurance, as though time itself adjusted to match his chosen state. Those around him noticed how deadlines seemed to bend, opportunities arrived precisely when needed, and obstacles dissolved before his steady gaze. One morning, facing what appeared to be an impossible situation, 3 major presentations due within hours of each other, Alistair simply smiled and settled deeper into his sovereign state of peace. Rather than allowing external pressure to dictate his experience, he held firm to his inner knowing. As others frantically prepared, he worked with measured focus, finding that time expanded to accommodate his needs. When the day concluded, all 3 presentations had unfolded perfectly, each appearing to arrive at exactly the right moment. The universe responds not to your external circumstances, but to your inner state. This truth stands as the foundation of all manifestation. Your dominant state of consciousness serves as the ultimate creative command. When you truly grasp this principle, you understand that no external condition holds power over your chosen state. Time, circumstances, and apparent limitations all bow before the authority of your conscious state selection. The moment you claim sovereignty over your inner state, you activate a power greater than any circumstance. This is not mere positive thinking. It is the deliberate wielding of the primary creative force of the universe. Your state of consciousness broadcasts a continuous signal that the universe must answer, not by choice, but by law. In the quiet streets of a small coastal town, Louise Garland discovered this truth through her own experience. For years, her life had seemed controlled by external events, until she learned the art of state sovereignty. Regardless of her bank balance, health challenges, or others' opinions, she maintained a state of absolute abundance and well-being. Initially, those around her questioned her apparent denial of reality. Yet as weeks passed, her outer world began shifting to match her inner state. job opportunities emerged, health improved, and resources appeared, not because she had fought against circumstances, but because she had chosen a state that made such manifestations inevitable. Louise's mastery reflects the power available to you in every moment. Your circumstances are not your master. They are merely the shadow cast by your previous states of consciousness. Through conscious state selection, you command the very fabric of reality itself. Sacred practice, the sovereign state. Upon waking, choose a state to embody and declare it your sovereign center for the day, maintaining it unwaveringly to shape your reality through conscious authority. Chapter 22. The Master Key of Assumption. In the heart of an ancient city, Everett Shaw discovered a truth that would forever alter his understanding of reality. Each morning he walked past a wall of seemingly insurmountable challenges, a struggling business, mounting debts, and strained relationships. Yet rather than fight against these conditions, he made a remarkable choice. He began to assume with quiet certainty that all was well. At first, nothing appeared to change in his outer world, but Everett maintained his assumption with the same natural ease as breathing. He assumed prosperity as his natural state, regardless of bank statements. He assumed harmony in his relationships, despite apparent tensions. He moved through his days as though his desires were already fulfilled, treating obstacles not as barriers but as illusions yet to dissolve. Within weeks, subtle shifts began to appear. Unexpected opportunities emerged, relationships softened, and resources flowed from unforeseen channels. The more steadfast his assumption remained, the more reality reshaped itself to match his inner knowing. Your life moves in perfect alignment with your sustained assumptions. This represents the master key of manifestation, not what you wish for, but what you assume to be true. Every experience you encounter reflects an assumption you have consciously or unconsciously maintained. The universe has no choice but to mirror your assumptions back to you, for this is the fundamental law of consciousness. When you assume something as fact, you activate a creative force that arranges circumstances to match your assumption. This is not hope or positive thinking. It is the wielding of absolute law. Your assumptions shape the very substance of reality, determining which possibilities can manifest and which remain dormant. In a quiet valley, Frances Odell embraced this wisdom. Rather than longing for her desires or working to achieve them, she simply assumed they were accomplished facts. She walked through her days feeling the natural satisfaction of one whose wishes had already been fulfilled. She spoke, thought, and moved as though her desires were present realities rather than future possibilities. Those around her noticed a subtle shift in her demeanor, a quiet certainty that seemed to draw circumstances into alignment with her assumptions. Where others saw obstacles, Frances saw only temporary illusions waiting to dissolve before her unwavering knowing. Your own life responds with equal precision to your assumptions. Each assumption you hold creates a corresponding pattern in your experience. This power of assumption remains active, whether you wield it consciously or not. By choosing your assumptions deliberately, you command the creative forces of the universe. Ancient practice of assumption. In quiet, choose a desire and assume it already fulfilled. carrying the natural satisfaction of its completion throughout your day, letting this assumption become your dominant state. Chapter 23. The Law of Energetic Dominion. In a quiet village among rolling hills, Sylvester Crane noticed something peculiar about his daily troubles. Each morning he would count his worries like beads on a string, his dwindling savings, his uncertain career path, his health concerns. Yet one day, absorbed in tending his garden, he forgot to think about these problems. That evening he realized his usual anxiety had not appeared, and more remarkably, opportunities had begun flowing toward him without effort. Intrigued, Sylvester experimented further. He deliberately ceased giving attention to his financial concerns, treating them as though they were shadows without substance. When bills arrived, he acknowledged them practically, but withdrew his emotional energy from the story of lack. Within weeks, unexpected income sources emerged, as though his withdrawal of worried attention had created space for abundance to flow. The truth you now uncover is both simple and profound. What you energize with your attention grows, and what you ignore dissolves. Your focus acts as a beam of light, bringing to life whatever it touches. When you withdraw attention from unwanted conditions, you remove the very life force sustaining them. This is not mere positive thinking or denial of reality. Rather, it is the conscious direction of creative energy. Everything in your experience requires your attention to maintain its form. The moment you withdraw that attention, conditions must either transform or fade entirely. Consider how a plant thrives with water and withers without it. Similarly, your attention is the water that sustains every circumstance in your life. By consciously directing this attention, you determine which conditions flourish and which naturally dissolve. In a bustling city across the sea, Opal Danvers discovered this same principle through her own experience. For years, she had struggled against recurring patterns of scarcity and limitation. Each obstacle seemed to demand her constant attention, consuming her thoughts and emotional energy. One morning, Opal made a decisive shift. Instead of fighting against unwanted circumstances, she simply withdrew her attention from them. When thoughts of limitation arose, she neither resisted nor engaged them. She simply redirected her focus toward her desired experience. Like shadows exposed to light, her problems began losing their apparent solidity. At first, nothing seemed to change in her outer world, but Opal maintained her practice with quiet persistence. She stopped energizing old stories of struggle, ceased feeding familiar worries with her attention. Gradually, circumstances that had seemed permanent began to shift. Opportunities appeared, relationships healed, and abundance flowed, not through force or struggle, but through the simple act of withdrawing attention from unwanted conditions. What Opal discovered mirrors your own innate power. Every condition in your life depends on your continued attention for its existence. The moment you withdraw that attention, you initiate a process of transformation. This is not magical thinking, but the application of universal law. The ancient practice of attention, withdrawal. Sit in stillness, focus on an unwanted condition, and mentally withdraw all energy from it, allowing it to fade while holding this state for several minutes to invite its transformation. Chapter 24. Becoming the One Who Chooses. The truth you now approach lies at the heart of all manifestation, the law of energetic dominion. This ancient principle reveals that what you energize through attention expands, while what you ignore dissolves back into pure potential. In the timeless scrolls passed down through ages, a merchant named Raymond Ellery discovered this sovereign truth. Each morning, he would visit the marketplace, where countless possible transactions awaited. For years, he believed circumstances chose him, until one transformative dawn when he realized he had always been the chooser. As Raymond walked among the stalls, he began consciously selecting which opportunities to energize with his attention. When negative predictions arose about a venture, he simply withdrew his focus from them. Like flowers denied water, these unwanted possibilities began to wither. Meanwhile, the prospects he chose to nurture with his awareness bloomed into reality. This law operates with mathematical precision in your own life. Every moment presents infinite possibilities, yet only those you feed with attention can materialize. Your focus is the water that allows certain realities to grow while others remain dormant seeds. When you understand this principle, you recognize that nothing can persist in your experience without your energetic participation. Even long-standing conditions require your continued attention to remain. The moment you withdraw that energy, they begin to dissolve. Think of your attention as a beam of light. Wherever you direct it, reality takes form. Whatever you illuminate with sustained focus must eventually manifest, while whatever you leave in darkness cannot touch your experience. This is not magical thinking, but rather the fundamental mechanism by which consciousness shapes circumstance. A woman named Geneva Parker embodied this truth with remarkable results. For decades, she had lived a life of quiet limitation, believing her possibilities were determined by external forces. Then she discovered that she could consciously choose which version of reality to energize. Geneva began by withdrawing attention from the story of herself as small and powerless. Though circumstances hadn't yet changed, she stopped feeding that narrative with her focus. Instead, she directed her attention solely toward the reality she wished to experience, one of abundance, vitality, and joy. At first, nothing appeared different externally. But by maintaining sovereign control over her attention, Geneva noticed unwanted conditions beginning to fade while new opportunities emerged. Within months, her entire life transformed, not through forcing or struggling, but through the mastery of energetic selection. Your own mastery begins with this recognition. You are the sovereign ruler of your attention. What you consistently energize must manifest, while what you ignore must dissolve. This is the ultimate creative power, the ability to choose which possibilities you will feed into form. Ancient practice of energetic selection. Select one desire fully, hold it with calm certainty without entertaining doubt, and maintain this focus for a day, knowing your attention will nourish its manifestation. Chapter 25. The Unseen Technology of Intention. In a quiet village among ancient hills, Irving Dalton tended his garden each morning. Though he planted the same seeds as his neighbors, his flowers bloomed with extraordinary vibrancy. His vegetables grew with remarkable abundance. Those who passed would pause, marveling at the difference between his garden and others nearby. One morning, a wandering sage stopped to rest by Irving's gate. Watching Irving work, the sage smiled knowingly. "You have discovered the secret without knowing it," he said. Each morning, before you touch the soil, you hold a clear picture of what you wish to grow. This silent command shapes the unseen forces more powerfully than any physical action. Irving realized the sage spoke truth. He had always visualized his garden's perfection before beginning his work. This same principle, the sage revealed, governed all of life's flowering. At the heart of creation lies a truth so fundamental it has remained hidden in plain sight. Intention shapes reality before action begins. Your thoughts are not mere whispers in the void. They are precise instructions to the universal field of infinite possibility. Like a master architect drawing plans before construction begins, your intention designs the invisible blueprint that matter must follow. When you set an intention, you activate forces beyond physical sight. These forces begin arranging circumstances, coordinating events, and aligning energies to manifest your chosen outcome. Yet this power operates only when intention achieves absolute clarity. Like sunlight focused through a magnifying glass, a clear intention concentrates universal energy into a precise point of manifestation. Most lie at the mercy of scattered thoughts, wondering why their reality seems equally scattered. But you now hold the key to directed creation, the ability to focus intention with unwavering clarity. This is not wishful thinking, but the deliberate use of universal law. In the merchant district of a bustling port city, Margaret Layton's shop had fallen into confusion. Inventory was disorganized, accounts were tangled, customers were frustrated. One evening, sitting among the chaos, Margaret remembered an old teaching about the power of clear intention. The next morning, before opening her shop, she sat in perfect stillness. In her mind, she held a crystal-clear image of her shop running in perfect order, shelves organized, books balanced, customers satisfied. She held this intention without wavering, letting it fill her completely. Within days, solutions began appearing. A skilled bookkeeper offered assistance. A new organizing system emerged naturally. Customers commented on the shop's improved atmosphere. Margaret had not yet taken any physical action. She had simply set a clear intention that commanded the unseen to reorganize around her chosen outcome. Margaret's transformation mirrors the power waiting in your own consciousness. When you let go of scattered thoughts and set one clear intention, you activate the same organizing principle that arranges atoms into molecules and planets into orbits. This is not magical thinking, but the practical application of universal law. Your consciousness holds this same creative authority. Each intention you set with clarity becomes a command that reality must follow. This is your natural power, not as a being separate from universal forces, but as the conscious center through which these forces flow into form. Ancient practice of clear intention. Each morning, sit in stillness for 3 minutes. Hold one clear intention as if already fulfilled. Feel its reality and release it fully, knowing your command is received by the unseen forces. Chapter 26. The Ritual of Becoming the Future Self. Long ago, in a bustling merchant city, Cyrus Pendleton spent his days studying ancient manuscripts in his modest shop. Though he dreamed of becoming a renowned scholar, success seemed forever beyond his reach. One night, as he sorted through a collection of weathered scrolls, he uncovered writings that spoke of a forgotten practice, the art of merging with one's future self. The text revealed that time was not a linear path, but a circle of eternal now. That night, in the quiet of his shop, Cyrus closed his eyes and allowed himself to feel the presence of his accomplished future self. He didn't merely imagine it, he became it. With each breath, he absorbed the wisdom, confidence, and certainty of the scholar he would become. Within weeks, opportunities began appearing as if by magic. Distinguished academics sought his counsel, and his interpretations of ancient texts gained recognition throughout the land. The universe responds not to what you wish to become, but to who you are being in this moment. When you merge with the consciousness of your desired state, you collapse the illusion of time and distance between you and your aspiration. This practice of embodiment transcends mere visualization. It is the art of assuming the consciousness of fulfillment now. Your present reality reflects your current state of being. To transform your circumstances, you must first transform your point of awareness. The secret lies not in reaching for what you desire, but in becoming the one who naturally receives it. This truth has been preserved in mystery schools throughout the ages. Manifestation occurs through the assumption of the end state in consciousness. In a distant valley, Adelaide Morehouse discovered this principle through her own journey. She had long yearned to establish a healing sanctuary, but found herself trapped in limitation. One morning, sitting beneath an ancient oak tree, she experienced a profound shift. Instead of longing for her vision, she allowed herself to become the woman who had already achieved it. She began carrying herself with the grace and authority of a respected healer. She spoke with the wisdom of one who had helped thousands. She made decisions from this elevated state of being. Within months, her transformation drew exactly the right people and resources into her life. Her sanctuary manifested not through striving, but through her sustained embodiment of its fulfillment. What appeared magical to others was simply the natural result of her inner shift. Adelaide's journey mirrors the truth awaiting your recognition. The version of you that easily receives your desire exists now in consciousness. By merging with this aspect of yourself, you dissolve the barriers of time and circumstance that seem to separate you from your vision. Sacred practice. The embodiment of future self. In quiet, identify one trait your future self naturally embodies and, throughout the day, consciously act as if it is already a part of you, allowing it to guide your choices and interactions. Chapter 27. The Collapse of the Old World. Through the dusty windows of his antiquarian bookshop, Fletcher Morrison watched the world transform. The shelves that once held precious volumes now stood half empty, a reflection of the change stirring within him. For years, he had clung to his identity as the keeper of ancient knowledge, finding safety in the familiar scent of aged paper and leather bindings. Yet, as digital archives grew and reading habits evolved, he felt a deeper truth emerging. He was not merely a guardian of old books, but a bridge between wisdom and its seekers. At first he resisted. Each empty shelf felt like a personal failure until he realized that as his grip on the old identity loosened, new possibilities emerged. He began hosting virtual reading circles, sharing stories through modern channels, and touching more lives than his small shop ever could. The more he released who he thought he should be, the more naturally his new role unfolded. The universe operates through a profound law of dissolution and renewal. When you release an outdated version of yourself, the reality that supported that identity naturally begins to fade. This is not loss, but transformation. The structures, circumstances, and patterns that once served your former self must dissolve to make way for what you are becoming. Just as a snake cannot grow without shedding its skin, you cannot expand into new dimensions of being while clutching old forms. Every significant transformation begins with letting go. The resistance you feel toward change is not protecting you. It is holding you in patterns you have outgrown. In a quiet valley town, Lucille Porter faced the closure of her family's generations-old mill. For months, she battled against changing markets and new technologies, seeing each setback as a personal defeat. One morning, standing amid the silent machinery, she understood. The mill's closing wasn't an ending, but a clearing. As she stopped fighting to preserve what was passing away, she discovered gifts hidden within the change. The mill's vast spaces transformed into an art center, bringing new life to the valley. The skills she'd learned managing the family business found fresh expression in guiding other local enterprises through transition. Lucille's experience mirrors a universal truth. What appears as loss often serves as the necessary clearing for new realities to emerge. The dissolution of familiar structures creates space for the birth of what your expanding consciousness requires. Your current circumstances reflect the identity you have outgrown. As you step into a larger version of yourself, aspects of your world must naturally fall away. This is not punishment or failure. It is the precise mechanism through which evolution occurs. Ancient practice of release. Sit quietly. Visualize one outdated or restrictive aspect dissolving and declare, "I release what no longer serves me," welcoming the freedom and space for new possibilities. Chapter 28. The Silent Mastery of Non-Reaction. In a bustling marketplace, Wilbur Hayes stood behind his wooden stall, watching as merchants around him frantically raised prices amid whispers of coming shortages. While others rushed to hoard supplies, Wilbur maintained his usual calm demeanor, continuing to offer his wares at fair prices. His fellow merchants called him foolish, warning that he would soon have nothing left to sell. Yet Wilbur had discovered a profound truth, that scarcity itself was but a shadow cast by collective fear. Each time news of shortages spread, he noticed that those who panicked manifested the very lack they feared. Instead of joining the frenzy, he chose to remain still, anchored in an inner knowing of abundance. As weeks passed, while others' shelves grew bare from panic selling, Wilbur's supply chains remained mysteriously uninterrupted, as if responding to his unwavering calm. The universe operates through an exquisite law. That which you refuse to energize with reaction must necessarily dissolve. Every unwanted pattern in your life persists only through your continued engagement with it. When you withdraw your reaction, you withdraw its very power to exist in your experience. This is the hidden mechanism behind all transformation, not the addition of force, but the removal of resistance. Like a pond that becomes clear when you stop stirring its waters, reality reveals its natural state of abundance when you cease agitating it with fearful reactions. Your non-reaction is not passive resignation, but rather the most powerful position you can take. It is a declaration that you will no longer participate in the illusion of lack. In a quiet village, Eudora Finch faced similar tests of faith. As rumors spread of failing crops and empty granaries, Villagers began to turn against one another, hoarding what little they had. Yet Eudora maintained her practice of sharing freely from her garden, refusing to entertain thoughts of scarcity. While others fortified their homes with locks and barriers, she kept her gate open. What followed seemed miraculous to those who watched. The more Eudora shared, the more abundant her garden became. While other plots withered from neglect and fear, hers flourished. Those who had scorned her generosity now wondered at her secret. But there was no secret, only her steadfast refusal to react to appearances of lack. Eudora's experience mirrors the truth waiting within you. Every circumstance that seems to threaten your abundance is actually an invitation to demonstrate your power of non-reaction. When you remain unmoved by appearances, you allow the natural state of abundance to flow unimpeded through your life. Ancient practice of non-reaction. When a triggering situation arises, withdraw all reaction. Observe it in complete stillness, and remain calm until its energetic charge dissolves, claiming mastery through non-reaction. Chapter 29. The Place Before Creation. In a monastery perched high in the mountains, Cornelius Thatcher searched endlessly for answers in ancient texts and sacred teachings. Despite years of study, true understanding eluded him. One dawn, exhausted from his pursuit, he sat in the empty library. As the first light filtered through dust-laden air, he stopped seeking. In that moment of surrender, his mind grew still. The ceaseless internal dialogue fell away, revealing a vast silence he had never known existed. Within this void, he touched something extraordinary, the pure potential that precedes all creation. The universe speaks in whispers from the depths of silence. Before every manifestation, there exists a sacred space of pure possibility, the void from which all forms emerge. This emptiness is not barren, but pregnant with infinite potential. When you enter this silence, you access the primordial field of creation itself. Your thoughts, like ripples on a pond, arise from this still depths. Yet in constantly chasing thoughts, you miss the creative power of their source. The void is not something to fear or fill, but the wellspring from which all desires naturally emerge. By learning to rest in this silence, you align with the original creative force of the universe. Think of the moment before an artist touches brush to canvas, or the pause before a musician strikes the first note. This pregnant silence contains all possibilities. So too does your inner void hold every potential manifestation, waiting to be called forth through your conscious choice. In a small cottage by the sea, Beulah Hartman discovered this truth through her own journey. For years she had filled every moment with activity, afraid of the quiet. Yet one evening, as she watched the sun sink into still waters, something shifted. Instead of rushing to fill the silence, she allowed herself to sink into it. In that spaciousness, she found not emptiness, but a field of pure potential. Each morning thereafter, Beulah would sit in this silence before beginning her day. She noticed that when she acted from this space of stillness, life flowed with remarkable grace. Her artistic creations emerged more naturally, relationships deepened, and opportunities appeared as if by magic. She had discovered that by touching the void, she accessed the source of all manifestation. Beulah's experience mirrors an essential truth. Your creative power flows most purely when you first touch the silence from which all things emerge. This void is not separate from you. It is your deepest nature, the eternal space of consciousness itself. The void practice. Sit quietly, sink your attention into the spaces between thoughts, rest in the expanding silence, and allow your chosen desire to arise naturally from this void. Chapter 30. The Forbidden Formula for Effortless Creation. In ancient times, Randolph Keaton walked the world seeking wisdom from sages and mystics. Despite mastering countless techniques, manifestation remained an effort until one twilight moment changed everything. Standing beneath a star-filled sky, his seeking fell away. In that instant, his awareness expanded beyond thought, his identity shifted beyond limitation, and his feeling rose beyond doubt. These three streams merged into a singular force, and reality responded instantly to his unified state. Without effort or ritual, his deepest desires materialized before him as naturally as breath. The wisdom revealed in Randolph's experience unveils the ultimate secret of the Codex, that all methods, practices, and laws merge into one point of power. When awareness rests in pure being, identity settles into natural sovereignty, and feeling resonates with unwavering certainty. Creation becomes effortless. This unified state transcends doing into pure being. The universe responds not to what you attempt, but to what you are when all inner aspects align as one. This alignment reveals why some desires manifest instantly, while others remain elusive. When awareness splinters into doubt, identity fragments into limitation, or feeling wavers in uncertainty, creation requires effort. But when these three streams merge into one current, manifestation becomes as natural as a flower turning toward the sun. In a distant valley, Selma Whitfield discovered this truth through her own experience. After years of spiritual practice, she realized that all techniques pointed to the same essential unity. One morning, as she sat in her garden, her awareness opened fully to the present moment. Her identity expanded into unlimited possibility, and her feeling resonated with absolute knowing. In that moment of perfect synthesis, the reality around her shifted instantly to match her unified state. The garden bloomed out of season, opportunities arrived without effort, and every desire manifested with effortless grace. Selma's experience mirrors the mastery that awaits within you. You need not perfect countless methods or master complex rituals. The power of creation awakens naturally when awareness, identity, and feeling flow as one stream. This unified state already exists within you, waiting to be remembered. Ancient practice of unified being. Sit quietly, expand your awareness into pure possibility, settle into unwavering certainty, and rest in the unified point of power from which creation flows effortlessly. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. The wisdom revealed in Randolph's experience unveils the ultimate secret of the Codex, that all methods, practices, and laws merge into one point of power. When awareness rests in pure being, identity settles into natural sovereignty, and feeling resonates with unwavering certainty. Creation becomes as natural as breathing. This trinity of consciousness forms the foundation of effortless manifestation. It is not three separate actions, but a single unified state where you exist as pure awareness, sovereign identity, and aligned feeling simultaneously. In this state, reality responds not to what you do, but to who you are. The second parable introduces us to Selma Whitfield, who discovered this truth while tending her garden. For years she had struggled to create the life she desired, until one morning, as she watched a flower unfold, something shifted within her. She realized the flower didn't strain to bloom, it simply expressed its nature. In that moment, her awareness expanded beyond her thoughts. Her identity settled into natural authority, and her feeling aligned with the certainty of being. Her world transformed instantly, not through effort, but through the natural expression of her unified state. Your journey through the Codex has prepared you for this ultimate revelation. The teachings that were once hidden now flow through your consciousness as living wisdom. Each chapter has been a step toward this moment of recognition, that you are not separate from the creative force of the universe, but are that force in expression. Just as a river doesn't strain to flow or a star doesn't effort to shine, your creative power operates through the natural alignment of your being. When awareness, identity, and feeling merge into one, manifestation becomes effortless because it is simply the outward expression of your inner state. The sacred practice that accompanies this teaching invites you to experience this unified state directly. Find a quiet moment and allow your awareness to rest in pure being, beyond thought or analysis. Let your identity settle into natural sovereignty, recognizing your inherent authority over your reality. Allow your feeling to align with absolute certainty, beyond doubt or questioning. Feel these three streams merge into one unified force. This is not a technique to master, but a state to embody. The power that was once forbidden is now yours to express, not through complex rituals or elaborate methods, but through the simple truth of who you are.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.